All right, everyone, I have something sneaky up my sleeve today. Welcome back to your friendly neighborhood college counselor, where today I'm going to be joined by Jared, illustrious writer, creative director at Athena Education, and Princeton grad, of course. If you missed our recent video on how we spilled the tea all about Princeton and its dark history, make sure to check that one out. Today, I'm on a mission to put generative AI to the test. For anyone who's been living under a rock, ChatGPT is an AI tool developed to simulate intelligence and specifically is trained to provide content based on written prompts. Today, I want to put ChatGPT to the test and see if I can compose an exemplary, maybe even Ivy League level essay using this technology. If you're wondering what the Common Application essay is, we've got you. We have a recent video for that as well. There has been a lot of speculation about whether generative AI like ChatGPT can write essays as well, or maybe even better than human beings. Before we jump into things, make sure to hit subscribe and stick around to the end to see Jared give his final rating of the ChatGPT essay and whether it really passes the test. Alrighty, let's do it. So I have my ChatGPT open and I'm going to write my message to the machine. Hello. I need to write a common application essay for my college applications. Why don't I give it a little bit of information about what this essay is about? This essay is meant to be a personal journey that exemplifies my core values, insights, vulnerability, and my written craft. I'm going to feed this technology with a pitch of an essay of a student that we worked with a while ago. That pitch is going to include a one-line summary of what the essay is supposed to be about, the theme, the central conflict of the essay, the resolution of that conflict, as well as the growth or the upswing that the student has. So let's go ahead and input that information. I'm also going to provide a very brass tacks, bare bones outline of the storyline without giving too much detail. All right, so I have provided a log line and outline of the essay. Please produce an essay of approximately 650 words. That's this. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and copy over the pitch and outline that kind of gives the bare minimum information about this story and, you know, what the essay should be about. I'm gonna hit enter. Okay, very excited. Let's go. Okay, it's thinking, it's taking a second. And we wait. And we wait.
2 hours later.
Yeah, so I'm gonna copy it onto a Word document now, and we're gonna pretend like this is a real Common App essay that the student wrote. And I'm excited to dig into it with a fellow expert and see whether it passes our test and we give it a rating that is good. Welcome, Jared. So glad to have you back. How's that ankle sprain doing?
Ankle sprain?
Never mind. All right, so let's get into the essay. We have a wonderful essay written by a student, and I want you to jump in and help me analyze how you would rate this essay, whether you feel this would get into an elite university.
Awesome. I love to read honest, genuine, authentic stories written by the students with love and care. Always.
Can't wait to get into it. Let's get started. Title: Blossoming Where I'm Planted. Grade 5, 2015. Ode to Goodbyes. A heartfelt lament etched onto a tear-stained page, encapsulating the turmoil of separation and the ache of distance. In the midst of a new boarding school, miles away from the embrace of family and familiar faces, homesickness crept into my heart with a stealthy grip. My connection to those I held dear was severed, their voices silenced by the vast expanse that separated us. I felt adrift, untethered from the concept of home. In this unfamiliar environment, I struggled to find my place. It was as if the walls around me were a constant reminder of the life I had left behind, echoing the void within. Disconnected and isolated, I yearned for the solace of deep relationships that I had cherished. The ache intensified, forlorn and unsure if this new space would ever become a sanctuary. All right, so what do we think about this opening here? It's a hook.
Not bad. There's specificity going on there. Some of the ideas, some of the imagery. Maybe got a few metaphors that are a little mixed, I'm seeing. But let's see what else we have.
Definitely. I'm getting a sense of emotion coming through here. The tear-stained page, the homesickness that creeps over her heart. You know, I'm definitely feeling like there's just something raw coming through here. But let's keep reading.
Amidst the maelstrom of uncertainty, an unexpected act of kindness from the warden granted me access to a lifeline, my phone. In that moment, a glimmer of hope pierced through the haze of homesickness. Perhaps, with time, this place could intertwine with my definition of home. It remained to be seen. Through the winding corridors of this boarding school, I stumbled upon a poetry class, an unexpected solace that ignited a fire within me. The power of words, skillfully woven into verses, became my conduit for healing. In the ink-stained pages of my journal, I poured out my soul, finding solace in the cathartic release that poetry offered. From ode to paperclip to stanzas of serenity, each poem became a stepping stone on my journey of self-discovery.
So we're progressing in the story. We're seeing the poet come in. Interesting, she starts talking about igniting a fire, but then they go into skillfully weaving verses. So I'm not really sure, like, is she trying to talk about fire? Is she weaving verses? Like, there's mixing of metaphors going on here. What do you think, Jared?
Mixed metaphors, I'm not a fan of. Yikes. In addition to that, repeated words without there being a purpose behind that repetition. Solace is coming up a couple times here, and it doesn't seem to be adding a whole lot. So I'm wondering at the same time, do we get to see some of this poetry? Hopefully by the end, that's going to come out. Let's see.
Remains to be seen. But poetry was not the only path I treaded to find connection. With gymnastics no longer within reach, karate and chess became my new allies. Through these pursuits, I discovered a sense of belonging and purpose. In particular, the spoken word club became a haven where I witnessed firsthand the transformative power of poetry. Eager to extend this outlet to others, I embarked on a mission to foster comfort, community, and empowerment within our shared space. In the crucible of dedication and perseverance, I emerged as the vice captain, a prestigious position that bestowed upon me the responsibility to create a sense of home for others. I sought to amplify the voices of my peers, offering a platform for their anonymous responses on how to make our school feel more welcoming. These precious insights were compiled into a book titled An Ode to Wellum, a testament to the unity we forged in our shared journey. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm super confused. We were just talking about poetry, and then she's talking about how with gymnastics no longer in her reach, karate and chess out of nowhere, but I don't think she mentioned
what actually happened.
What happened? Like, I feel like I'm missing a part of the story here, and it seems like it's coming out completely out of nowhere. So right now, frankly, as a reader, like, I'm just confused. Like, I'm confused. It's confusing.
We've got some gaps, definitely. Not completely sold now on where the story is taking me here. Again, let's see how do they maybe tie all this together. Hopefully it'll be something good. What once felt alien and foreign transformed into my sanctuary, a testament to the boundless capacity we possess to create home wherever we are planted. As my friendship blossomed with my bed neighbor, the final puzzle piece fell into place. The nature of home revealed itself to me, ever-evolving and dynamic. It is not confined to the walls of a house, but extends to the connections we nurture and the love we share. So, as I look ahead to my new school, I carry with me the understanding that home is not simply a destination. Haven't heard that before. It's a feeling we cultivate, a tapestry woven by our actions and the relationships we foster. And just as I found solace and growth within these walls, I pledge to create an environment where others can experience the same sense of belonging, knowing that together we can transform any place into a cherished home.
In the tapestry of my life, I have learned that home is not defined solely by four walls and a roof. It is the warmth of a smile, the tenderness of a shared secret, and the strength of a community united in empathy. So, looking back at this kind of second half of the essay, I'm getting a lot of repetition. What do you think, Jared?
There's a good bit of repetition. In an essay of 650 words, you're really doing your best to make the most of space, right? So every word choice that you make, every sentence structure that you choose needs to be very deliberate. And I'm getting a sense by the end that a lot of this is redundancy. The ideas here, how home is confined to the walls of a house, right? These kinds of ideas are pretty standard ideas when it comes to essays about relocating, finding a new home at your new school, these kinds of things.
Been there, heard that before.
Definitely. If AOs are anything like me, they've read through a lot of these kinds of essays, and I haven't felt that kind of impact yet to say, wow, this is feeling original and insightful about that particular subject.
I think what I'm also missing is just some kind of a sense of the hero's journey here. It seems like she arrives very easily and naturally at this, higher version of herself, where she's realized that home is not a house, but a feeling. And getting there very quickly without too much challenge on her part or overcoming obstacles, just not a fan. If I am going through it, I ask myself, do I get a sense of who this person is? Who is the student? Do I connect to her? Does she strike an emotional chord with me? Do I see her intellectual side, right? Are we really looking at some sophistication of thought coming through in maybe the level of writing, but also the level of ideas? Is she actually giving me something new and novel to chew on that I hadn't thought about before? Frankly, I've heard this story a million times and it's been done to death. So if I were an admissions officer, I'm thinking, okay, and you and every other kid who's ever gone to boarding school.
What have I learned about this person? I guess generally it's someone who wants to do good in their community. Cool. That's a baseline kind of thing to me, I'd say. Not a whole lot beyond that. I don't see a lot of the intellectual quality in that regard. No, maybe 3 out of 5's average to me, okay? When I look at the insight that you talked about, I'm thinking, well, not a whole lot of depth to it, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm thinking that might be kind of a 2 out of 5
generous.
to me, okay? And when I'm looking at, okay, these essays should be vulnerable. They should feel very much like, as I said earlier, they're warm, they are vulnerable, they are intimate, they're letting you into their world. And I think this essay is being emotional at different times. It's using some of these overwrought type metaphors and things at the beginning, but I don't get a strong sense that I've actually made an emotional connection with the author. That's a bit of a strike here for me as well. That's a 2 or 3. And then I would say that last bit on craft, I've got to give some serious marks against this essay for a lot of mixed metaphors, I said. This sounds like a kid who would need a little more, kind of editing to actually get out the honesty and a specific voice, right, that would actually make an impression on me.
Dang, brutal. Yeah, I feel like when I'm reading it, I don't get a sense of the person on the other side of this essay. If we were to revisit this, I'd really want to work on maybe bringing out more humanity in the essay as well. So overall, big disappointment. Jared, final call. Would you accept this student to Princeton as an admissions officer?
Off of this essay, I'm afraid that's a no. Okay. I see the potential there. I like the fact that there's a title and there are these attempts, but this person would have to bring a little more heat, okay? And I'm looking for breaking beyond the formula, breaking beyond that little bit of kind of robotic tone that's coming out at different points. I'm looking for, something that's feeling maybe a little something that's unexpected. Come to think of it, this essay, as I was reading it, seemed a little maybe kind of familiar, and it was hard to put my finger on what it was. I've read through a lot of essays, right? And I'm going through it, and some of the content certainly sounds, I feel like I've seen some of that content before. Maybe in a different format, different structure, different style.
Busted. Jared, it's time that I come clean. This essay wasn't written by a student at all, but in fact, a cold, dead, heartless machine. It was written by ChatGPT. Can you believe it? Now that we've given it an absolutely abysmal rating on our scale of values and insight and vulnerability and craft, I would love to dig into the actual essay that the student wrote and submitted to a highly selective university that actually got her in. Let's jump over to the real essay. Same story, same student, completely different writing, and written by a human being this time. Let's do it. Ode to Goodbyes. You'll write me every week, right? Yes, Ma, starting tonight. Goodbyes hung heavy as 80 girls gathered in the auditorium of my new boarding school. We were united by unshed tears and clumsy grips on the scarves of our uniforms. At the welcome dinner, a senior gushed about how stew and rice was her favorite dish at Welham. Afterward, I understood why. A meal prepared with love warmed my anxious stomach. Could this be my home someday? Ode to Paperclip. Strong and sacrificial, thank you for relinquishing your structure to restrain my sheets from impromptu adventure. My very first poem was dedicated to a stray paperclip on my desk. Miss Chamola, my English teacher, chuckled softly as she read it. She became the first with whom I shared all my poems. Slowly, I gathered more fragments of belonging. Welham's stone-laden walkways, my bed neighbor's childhood stories, echoes of Kya during karate practice. Could I piece together a new home? Ode to lost friendships. For you who embodied joy, I hope the afterlife treats you well. Flash was a true friend. His effortless presence made me feel right at home. His welcoming bark left me too soon. At Welham, I learned what true friends were not. They did not ask you to skip class or call you selfish when you shared your problems, nor did they make you feel small, unworthy, or lonely. When one home becomes uninhabitable, it's best to seek another.
Ode to change. This world's sole constant. You are painful, yet inevitable. Home is changing, and so, it seems, are we. On a flight to the US, I fidgeted, impatient to reunite with my family, my home. My brother's bone marrow transplant had brought them stateside. At the hospital, the ravages of change were devastating. He had shrunk to half his size. I glanced at my parents, who beamed at my presence, but whose dark circles betrayed their facade. Overwhelmed, I escaped to the hospital's roof for a moment of respite. I was foolish to think that my idyllic home of the past would be awaiting my return. Its shape had changed. Its health had withered. My search for home persisted. Ode to my body. Dear warrior, you fought countless battles. Some scars I see, others remain concealed. Your spirit conquers all. Back at Welham, my legs cartwheeled through the air in roundhouse face kicks when suddenly I heard a chilling snap. The ceiling seemed to mock me. During a specialist visit, it became clear that the ligaments restraining my kneecap had given way. Coach's wisdom rang true. Pace yourself. I had no choice but to slow down. Day 1, I struggled to lift my foot off the ground. Day 15, I shuffled to the bathroom. On day 40, I managed a light jog. Humility forced me to redefine my relationship with my first home, my body. For all the life it bestowed on me, it asked only to be nourished, respected, forgiven. In convalescence, could I manage to create a home?
Ode to Pandemic. Dear COVID-19, you emptied our dorms, our walkways deserted, but through the storm, my anchor lay steady. Mere months after Welham began feeling like home, it was wrenched unceremoniously away. Still, I was unwilling to abandon what I had finally built. As vice captain of my residential house, I founded a virtual spoken word club, hoping we could find community in what transcended physical space. Perhaps my search for one static place, person, or period to call home had been futile all along. It became clear that wherever I go, home lives within. Now, amid its enigmatic waters, I sought to be a compass, guiding others to their own sense of belonging in an ever-changing world. Ode to Home. Once, home was 4 brick walls. Now, home is giving, home is loving, home is being loved, home is you, and intrinsically, home is me. That brings us to the end of the student's true final essay. You are seeing glimmers of the same essay in the ChatGPT version, and yet an entirely different impact on the reader and eliciting a different set of emotions. So what was your observation there, Jared?
So I think, first of all, the obvious difference is in terms of structure. This person chose to actually use their poetry, actual lines from the verses, to show these feelings and show what they're about. And I think that makes such a significant difference. It feels like much more of a personal touch. And that's what you're after with one of these kinds of essays. It has to be yours, the essay that only you can write, as opposed to, the essay that some other kid, maybe from your own demographic, could write. So off the bat, you've got that. It catches your attention if you're the reader. And then you're thinking, okay, well, what is the substance? Is it just style? Is it just, for show? I don't think so. I think I'm learning so much more about this particular candidate than I am, say, in that previous essay. I'm learning, for example, what actually their problem is, first of all, and then what they've overcome, or at least what they're overcoming, right? This question of home in a much more detailed kind of way. I'm learning, even here, she's trying to reflect, okay, this idea of strength that comes from the paperclip, or the strength that comes with making it through that awful injury, or even looking at, say, friends and recognize that sometimes, look, you're going to have to distance yourself from that wrong crowd, if you will, because you have your own principles. You see, all these things definitely strike me as positive character traits that most likely will go very well in a college environment. It's a +1 there.
Each vignette shows me a glimpse into her world through a very small moment in time, through an example, through a sort of an anecdote, right? So as opposed to telling me this happened and then that happened, albeit very nicely in the ChatGPT version, here, instead of telling me what happened, I'm getting a flash into the taste of the stew on the table, or the chilling snap of her ligament tearing, which was sorely missing in the other essay.
What I find in this process is that truly specifics and details are what make the difference. Usually, if an essay is not very good, it has something to do with the fact that the author did not provide enough actual specificity about what they were trying to portray, the image that they were trying to make you see, or the senses, the other senses that they wanted you to feel. That is, yes, definitely a +1 for this essay. It's kind of night and day in so many ways, unfortunately.
So there you have it, folks. ChatGPT lost by a landslide, and the human student has won out. This gives us a lot of hope for, how humanity continues to, for now at least, be superior over the machines, over computers. It's uncanny how ChatGPT mimicked exactly the contrived essay that we are here to steer kids away from. This was the essay that you would be probably shown as an example of what not to do in a college essay seminar. Not to mention the issue of academic integrity, which we'll get into later in another video. The bottom line is, folks, write your own college essays the old-fashioned way. In a game where authenticity is everything, using AI just basically defeats the purpose and is a surefire way to get you rejected.
The key is to just not be a cliche. Be you. Don't be generic. It's really that simple. Give the specificity and the details of your life, your experiences, the things that you can talk about and other people cannot, right? The language, the word choices, and the sentence structures that really fit you and your voice, as opposed to, who knows, what some other person or some AI might do.
There you have it, folks. That's all for this episode of Your Friendly Neighborhood College Counselor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Which essay did you like better, the ChatGPT one or the real student-written human one? Follow us for more in the next video, where we cover 3 simple uses for ChatGPT that you actually can use in your college applications journey without violating academic integrity. We'll see you next time. And as always, we will close with a piece of advice from Jared. Jared, what's your advice?
Well, actually, I think my advice is actually for you. Yeah. Next time you try to pull the wool over my eyes, maybe, try a little harder.